Good morning. I am James Swain, the commander at American Legion Post 314. I'd like to welcome everyone to our reflection on all those who have fallen in the service of our country, our Memorial Day service. First of all, may I say it's good to see everyone. We used to see each other a little more often, but at least we can count on this time. And it's always awesome to see everyone as we go about service in our communities and our veterans and our nation, of course. So at this time, I would like the Hawthorne Junior ROTC to present the colors. Please stand.
Post the colors.
Two. Thank you. They're under the direction of, we'd like to thank Peace Petty Officer Ron Gray and Commander Donald Ariye. At this time, we'll have the opening prayer by Chaplain from 314, Anthony Ruff.
Thank you, Commander. Good morning, everyone. Let's bow our heads. Most eternal God, as Americans, we want to thank you for this great country. We are not proud but humbled that through your divine sovereignty, we live in such a nation as this. That is why we say one nation under God. Thank you for all military protecting our country from the United States Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Air Force, and Space Force. Thank you for those men and women who in these branches of service who were willing to serve their land, those who gave their lives to fight to keep this country free, so we can say, God bless America. Memorial Day for military members is a solemn day. It is a day to reflect on friends, lost comrades who gave their last measure for the cause of freedom. We reflect on how God has guided us through battles, storms, driving winds, and how God has allowed some of us to remain to proclaim the honor of our fallen friends. Thank you, Lord, for blessing this day. Our flag does not fly because the wind moves it. It flies with the last breath of each service member who died protecting it. Their duty, their honor, and their lives are precious gifts that must be given to the future of our country, families, and children. Today, as we remember the most honorable among us, we must continue to carry the burden of their sacrifice, lest we lose sight of what true freedom is. Stand in honor of them, walk in their path of duty, remember the cost, and hold in your heart the cause of freedom. I want to personally give thanks for those who attended this ceremony. As you were protected arriving, may you also be protected departing. Please pray these simple words with me before we leave. To our men and women in uniform, past, present, and future, God bless you and thank you. Amen.
Please face the flag of our country. All service members, past and present, render a hand salute. Hand salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two. Please be seated.
Please be seated.
So recognition of our guests.
Yes. At this time, I'd like the recognition of our guests, starting with U.S. Councilwoman Maxine Waters. State Senator Stephen C. Bradford. State Assemblywoman Tina S. McKinner. Is she here? Is he here? Hawthorne Mayor, City of Hawthorne Mayor, Alex Vargas. Hawthorne Mayor Pro Tem, Annie Ray English. She's not here. Okay. And City Council members. Katrina Manning, I'm sorry, Manning. Yeah. Alex Montero. David Patterson. And the City of Hawthorne Veteran Affairs Commission. Faye Johnson, U.S. Air Force. Wouldn't want to make that mistake. Dr. Stephen Nelman, that's U.S. Army, that's my boss. Captain David Lucero, U.S. Army. Kyle Orlman. It's not here. And Carol Steiner. Okay. How you? Okay. All right. Okay. At this time, if our honored guests would like to share some words. That's all right. Thank you. Good morning. Good to see you again.
Very much. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to take a moment to thank Mayor Vargas and all of the members of the City Council for faithfully honoring all of our fallen soldiers on this Memorial Day. Would you please give them a big round of applause? To all of our elected officials who are here today, and leaders and members of this city of Hawthorne, thank you for not forgetting that we have a responsibility to honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. And I'm delighted to be here with you today. And let me just say to both of our commanders, Commander James L. Swan of the American Legion Post 314, and of course, Barry Colson, Commander of Post Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 2075. Let's give them a big round of applause for being with us every year and making sure that we honor those who have given again the ultimate sacrifice. And before I get started, I'm going to make this presentation because there have been some years that I've been here that I brought the special recognition and somehow it didn't get done. And I want these presentations to be honored in City Hall every year. So let me just say to Post 314 and 2075, I'd like to make sure that you, on this occasion, Memorial Day ceremony, honoring the citizens of Hawthorne who gave their lives during military service to defend our freedom and way of life, and in appreciation of your dedication to co-hosting this annual event. Your leadership is critical to always remembering those brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice to protect our nation. Thank you so very much. I want to give you the right one. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm so pleased that you are allowing me a few minutes to share my thoughts and the thoughts of many of the members of Congress about Memorial Day. It is a great honor for me to be here with you on this special day, when we take time to honor and remember the brave military service members who paid the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our nation. Today, our nation observes Memorial Day. Since the beginning of the nation, patriotic men and women have stepped forward to serve in the armed forces because they believe in the ideals of the United States, and they believe what the United States stands for: peace, liberty, freedom, and justice for all. Many of those men and women sacrificed their lives for all of us and for our country. So on Memorial Day, we pay homage to their sacrifice. Today serves as a solemn reminder that our security and liberty are possible because of the men and women in uniform spanning every generation since the Revolutionary War. Memorial Day has its roots in Decoration Day, a day when Union Civil War veterans honored the soldiers who had died in conflict. This sacred holiday has additional roots in a commemoration organized by freed slaves and white missionaries in South Carolina following the end of the Civil War. To help heal from the tragedy of the Civil War, Americans across the country decorated the graves of veterans with flowers to symbolize the renewal of life. This tradition of unity, life, and remembrance continued for decades, and in 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act. Since then, Memorial Day has been observed on the last Monday in May. Californians are well represented among the brave men and women who have served our nation in the armed forces. Our state is a home to nearly 2 million veterans from diverse backgrounds, more than any other state. So as a representative of this, the 43rd District of California in the United States Congress, I am forever committed to the brave men and women who put on the uniform of our great country and volunteered to protect our liberties and our way of life. The residents of our community and our state deserve the opportunity to say thank you to some of the bravest Americans who have ever lived and remember those who have been lost. To truly honor the more than 1.1 million Americans who have passed away in the line of duty since the Revolutionary War, we must do right by their brothers and sisters in arms and support the veterans who return home. Therefore, last year, I was proud to announce the community project funding for my district in the amount of $235,127 for the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post-2075 Rehabilitation Project in Hawthorne, California. This project will allow the VFW to make needed repairs to this VFW post, which serves many of our nation's veterans, their families, and members of the surrounding community. And this is also why I introduced H.R. 4731, the Veterans Organization Modernization Act, which would provide competitive grants to veterans service organizations for repairs and rehabilitation of existing facilities and modernization of technologies. I plan to reintroduce this bill and hopefully get it passed this year. I also plan to introduce H.R. 4732, the Protecting Benefits for Disabled Veterans Act, which protects benefits for veterans who are unable to work due to a service-connected disability. Supporting veterans has always been a high priority for me ever since I was first elected to Congress back in 1990. That is why I sponsored legislation in 1994 that created the Center for Women Veterans, which is a special bureau within the Department of Veterans Affairs that advocates for women veterans. That is also why, for decades, I've worked to provide housing and supportive services to veterans. Finally, last year, I was extremely pleased that Congress passed the Honoring Our Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics Act, that is the PACT Act. This bipartisan legislation ensures that our nation's veterans are able to receive the care and treatment they need if their service has resulted in exposure to toxic substances, like the substances found in burn pits. The PACT Act passed the House by an overwhelming bipartisan vote of 342 to 88 and passed the Senate by a vote of 86 to 11. It was signed into law by President Biden on August the 10th, 2022. Now I'm committed to making sure this important law is fully funded. Ladies and gentlemen, our soldiers don't only die from warfare, perhaps being killed by the opposition with all kind of guns and artillery. When you have burn pits where they're burning all of these weapons and things that are not used anymore, our soldiers are inhaling all of this toxic material, and many of them die from it, and that's why it was so important for us to pass the PACT Act. We must do everything that we can to protect our soldiers when they are away, when they are facing the enemy, you name it, so that they can return home to their families. Families are sacrificing so very much when they lose sons and daughters and mothers and fathers in the service to the United States of America. So I'm delighted to be here with you today. We should all be committed to the responsibility that we have to honor those who have sacrificed for all of us. And I'm proud to do so. Sometimes you have to fight, and of course I know how to do that. And sometimes we have to encourage, and I know how to do that. Sometimes we have to leverage. I'm going to take a plane at 4 o'clock this afternoon, and we're going to sign the debt limits bill where we're going to raise the debt limits so that we can do what we need to do for the citizens of this country. And in that, we have additional money for those soldiers who are facing all kind of difficulties and danger, whether it is from the pits or whether it's from gunfire. And so that's in this bill. And I'm so proud of that additional health care. But I'm also proud that while we honor today those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, we've got to get the homeless veterans off the street. We've got to get them housed. We've got to get them health care. We've got to get them taken care of. And I'm committed to that. Thank you so much for having me every year. I would not miss this for anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you very much. Next, Senator Bradford.
Good morning. It's truly an honor to be here to pay homage and not only remember but honor the men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice so we can enjoy the freedoms that we experience every day, not only here in Hawthorne but across this country. I want to congratulate and commend the city of Hawthorne, the mayor, the council for this annual event, the tremendous leadership of our Congresswoman Waters for her leadership in Washington, D.C., but most importantly for each and every one of you who've made it a priority today to say thank you and to remember and to honor the men and women who have made the sacrifice. As stated, this is not a day off. It's not about barbecues and picnics. It's about remembering those men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice so we can live in a nation as great as we live in today. America is great because of the sacrifices that these men and women have made, and we're excited about continuing on our great traditions here in this country because of the men and women in uniform on a daily basis that allow us to do what we do every day. So on behalf of the state of California, I want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice, and you're not forgotten. You're deeply appreciated. You're remembered, and as a son of a veteran, of a grandson of a career Air Force, and a nephew of a career Air Force, I know how important the men and women and the wives and the family members, the sacrifices they make too, and allow you to do this work. So again, on behalf of the state of California, we just say thank you and God bless America, and God bless the men and women in uniform.
Thank you, Senator Bradford. Would Assemblywoman Tina McKinnon like to have some words? She's not here. Okay. Mayor Vargas, how about you?
Thank you guys all for being here. And as you know, Memorial Day, some people take it as a celebratory thing, and some others, it has a somber effect on us. And it's a mixture of both, because we celebrate our freedoms and our liberties. And that's what we do, and that's why we're able to go and barbecue our hot dogs and our hamburgers. But it came at a cost, sacrifice. Many of you here have members of your families who have passed because of the wars that they've been involved with. So it's a mixture of both, but we just need to make sure that we keep this going on annually with fervor, celebrating all the efforts and sacrifices that our soldiers, men and women, have performed over the many years that we've had this many wars. And I want to thank Congresswoman Maxine Waters for her efforts in Washington, D.C. And one thing that stood out really clearly from what she was saying and what my other colleagues have mentioned is that, or will be mentioning, is that Memorial Day is not simply honoring those who have passed in the wars, during those wars. There's so many effects of the wars that have affected our soldiers, men and women, after. From, like you said, incapacitation maybe because of bullet wounds, loss of legs, lack of mobility, effects of the chemicals that were used during the different wars, recent and past. So there's many things, and people are still passing away because of the effects of the wars. So we're having people pass away. So we need to remember that also, that aspect of the effects of war and the sacrifices that are involved. So the city of Hawthorne, myself, my colleagues, want to thank Congresswoman Maxine Waters for her efforts, for Stephen Bradford for always being here every year and helping support us, and all of you who have taken the time out. We thank you, and we thank all the men and women who are still serving. My dad's a veteran, he's somewhere in the back. And we all join in celebrating the efforts and the sacrifices of all those who have passed before us. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Council members.
Good morning. Again, I want to say thank you to all of you who have been here today, because this is a day, like I say, it's also cloudy, right? It reflects the solemn that we all feel about all those who have perished, right? We know, a Congresswoman said millions and the people have died. And also this has been almost 150 years that we've been celebrating this day. But it is a day that we should celebrate every day, right? And remember every day. Because we have people that's still suffering from all those wars, especially recent, veterans on the street. So we should pick them up and lift them up every day out of that poverty and sometimes it's because of mental health issues. So we need to make sure that we remember that. So as we commemorate and also remember all those wars that has been fought for us to get the freedom to speak, to protest, to say this is the great country in the world, right? So we need to remember of those soldiers and men and women that have sacrificed for us to breathe today. So we need to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and remember the survivors, the families, because they still struggle every single day. As they go to the cemetery, put the flower, or if they see on TV some wars going on. So we need to keep them in our prayers every single day because they deserve our gratitude. They deserve us to love them as our own families. So please remember, Memorial Day is on last Monday of the month in May, but every day we should remember. So again, thank you, Congresswoman. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Senator Breff. Thank you, my colleague, Mayor Vargas. So I'm going to ask Mayor Vargas to come over here. We present this proclamation to the Post 314. because every year they take turn, right? 314 to do it, and then the breakfast is going to be at the post 2075. So don't forget about that. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. So we could not be here if it was the men and women have that fought and sacrificed for us. So God bless you all.
Can we have an opportunity for a picture? Let's come up here just so that she can take it.
Get it? Get it? Okay. Hold on. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the Veteran Affairs Commission who would like to speak? With that being said, we move on to our Memorial Day message and the introduction of our keynote speaker by Anthony Ruff.
All right, thank you.
And he's a soldier for real. He just had knee surgery replacement, and he's still here.
Thank you, Commander. Soldier for life. I'm very pleased to read the bio on our keynote speaker today, Mr. Robert DiCarlo. His military service began when he enlisted in the United States Navy in 1980, where he earned the rank of Petty Officer Second Class Boiler Technician. He deployed twice to Western Pacific, known as Westpac, in the Indian Ocean off the coast of Iran. After 6 years of naval duty, he started his undergraduate work at Allen Hancock College in Santa Maria, California. He moved to Ogden, Utah in the early 90s and completed his Bachelor of Social Work from Weber State University in 1995. That fall, he attended University of Southern California, where he graduated with his Master of Social Work in 1997. Mr. DiCarlo was not yet done serving his country. He joined the United States Army Reserve in 1998. As a citizen soldier, he went to work for Ingleside Hospital in Rosemead, California, and during this time, he became a commissioned officer and was now a first lieutenant in the United States Army Reserve. The Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health hired Mr. DiCarlo, where he worked for the Emergency Outreach Bureau, performing 5150 or danger to self or others evaluations. Robert's Army Reserve Service took him on 2 deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, first in February of 2003 and again in June 2006. In 2008, Major DiCarlo became the executive officer with the 113th Medical Company in Stanton, California, and began working for the Department of Veterans Affairs, Los Angeles Vet Center. The VA recognized Robert's talent and commitment to servicing our veterans and quickly promoted him to the team leader position, now called Center Director, in 2011. Major DiCarlo's total combined active reserve service culminated a 24-year distinguished military service in both the United States Navy and United States Army Reserve, retiring in July 2009. Major DiCarlo has earned many awards for service and achievement. His decorations include the Meritorious Service Medal and the Army Commendation Medal, to name a few. Mr. DiCarlo is a skilled and caring licensed clinical social worker with the Gardena Vet Center, and we are honored to have him here today as our keynote speaker. Please give a round of applause for our keynote speaker, Robert DiCarlo, Major, U.S. Army, retired.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I can't see, so apologies. Thank you for the invitation to speak today on Memorial Day. I'd like to recognize Congressman Waters. I work closely with your office with our veterans, and I'm very thankful for your office. You're a great advocate for our veterans. And for those that know the Vet Center, we see veterans of all services, of all discharge types, and most of the time to answer questions about the VA. And without the Councilwoman's office, some of those issues don't get taken care of. And with the Congressman's office, they get taken care of quite well. Thank you. Mayor Vargas, City of Hawthorne council members, American Legion 314, and VFW Post 2075. Thank you for your invitation today. Memorial Day is an opportunity for us all to remember, honor, and reflect our way of life. The sacrifices and the men and women who have gave their last full measure of devotion in the service of the nation. Americans have been putting their lives on the line, protecting our way of life since before our nation was founded. During times of war, periods of restless peace between. From the American Revolution, concluded more than 240 years ago through the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, from the Civil War through Spanish-American War and World War I and II, through Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, and through global war of terrorism. Americans have served, sacrificed, and endured untold hardships across our nation and around the world. I'd like to deviate a little bit, but who serves? More than 41 million Americans have served over the course of the nation's history. More than 16 million did so in World War II alone. In the last century, 760,000 immigrants have served and earned their citizenship. In total, nearly 350,000 American women served in uniform in World War II. More than 300,000 females have served in Iraq and Afghanistan since 9/11. Women currently make up just under 15% of the total force of the United States. LGBTQ individuals have served and do so in the military as well. Why do we serve? To serve your country and protect your country's liberty and freedom. Travel the world, help stop terrorism, your college education, a good paying job, some duty and honor for the country, family tradition, and in my family, both my grandfathers, one in the Army in World War I and another in the Navy. My father was U.S. Army Air Corps, and my brother was U.S. Air Force, retired. Others serve to improve themselves and their new skills, get a career, turn your life around, and in my personal reason, to get a little discipline. That was my reason. But why we serve, we like to remember some of those that have served and that we've lost. One such member is Captain John Paul Gaffney. From my company, the 113th Combat Stress Company, on November 5th, 2009, 13 soldiers were gunned down and over 30 injured at Fort Hood, Texas. He was in process to deploy to Iraq for the third time. Captain Gaffney was not only a captain, he retired a major artillery officer from the National Guard. He took a demotion to return to the Army Reserve as a captain after completing his registered nurse training. Captain Gaffney was not even qualified to deploy due to his hearing issue. That did not stop him. He sought a waiver and was granted to be there in the first place. Captain Gaffney was not just a victim, he was one of many soldiers and civilians that charged the shooter that day. Even though he was unsuccessful, others did escape and live for their families today. This is just one individual story among many that have given their last full measure for this country. On Memorial Day, thousands of people will come to the 155 national cemeteries from Alexandria, Virginia, one of the nation's first cemeteries, to the national cemeteries in Puerto Rico, our most recent dedication. Each of these sacred, beautiful places is befitting the sacrifice of the fallen who have rested in eternal peace. The vet centers are 300 plus across this nation. They serve all veterans from all services, all discharge types. Of the veterans that serve, 60% of the staff of the vet center are veterans themselves. That serves as, we don't have to interpret what you say. We have those interpretations, we have those abbreviations, we already know that. So the veterans that serve at a vet center have gone the same path that you have and are going to go. So at the Vet Center, we try to meet the veterans where they are with what issues they need. We try to utilize the resources within the community, our congressmen, our representatives, our local resources to get them housing, benefits, or just to answer a question, and sometimes to even advocate for them for their own state taxes. So a Vet Center is a catch-all, but I always call it the best kept secret of the VA. There's 300 plus, and not just in the United States, Puerto Rico, Guam, America, Samoa, and the Virgin Islands, I think, as well. Our greatest duty to the men and women who have died in service of our country is to never forget what they did for us, for future generations of Americans. Let's instill in our children and our children's children the understanding and respect for those sacrifices have met for all of us. I'd like to share, in closing, a poem that was written during World War I by a surgeon. You wear the lilies as it relates. In Flanders Field, I might get emotional, sorry. In Flanders Field, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks still bravely sing and fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunsets glow. Loved, were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up your quarrel with the foe. To you from fallen hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep through poppies grow in Flanders Field. Thank you.
Okay. So now we do the brief presentation. So that I'm going to read something.
We will now have the reached presentations.
Let me read this part here. Okay. The laying of wreaths is an integral part of many remembrance services that highlights functional and commemorative roles of the war memorials like the one behind us, behind me standing here. Laying of the wreaths allow individuals and organizations to pay their respects and lay tribute to individuals or groups. We have with us today Joanne Wright, President of VFW Auxiliary 2075, and Ronnie Manson, member of American Legion Post 314. We have Chairwoman of the Veterans Affairs Commission, Faye Johnson, United States Air Force Chief Master Sergeant retired, and the Vice Chairman, Dr. Stephen Nelman, U.S. Army, Captain Daniel Lucero, West Point graduate, and the other members of your Veterans Affairs Commission, Commissioner Kyle Horleman and Carol Steinhauer. Thank you, everyone. We will now do the reading of deceased members for both the members transferred to post-everlasting for the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States first, and then the American Legion. Reading the names, at each name which read, you will hear a gong on the bell. We have the commander of the VFW Post 2075, Barry Colson, and the incoming commander for Post 2075, Jan Baumsterberg. And for the American Legion, the commander, James Swain, will read the names for the American Legion members who have transferred to post-everlasting. Thank you.
The following individuals have passed from
Hawthorne, VFW Post 2075. Leonard L. Brown, United States Army, Korea, Vietnam. No response. Joseph R. Kavanaugh, United States Army, Vietnam. No response. Kenneth V. Cumley, United States Marine Corps, Vietnam. No response. Anthony Fazzolari, United States Army, World War II. No response. Philip A. Hastings, United States Navy, World War II. No response. Vernon O. Himley. No response. Michael A. Holowati. No response. Hansel E. Lee, United States Air Force, World War II, Korea, Vietnam. No response. Michael M. Lodge, United States Army, Vietnam. No response.
Kenneth M. Murray, U.S. Army, Korea.
No response.
J. W. Nicholson.
No response.
William R. Niederberger, United States Marine Corps, Korea.
No response.
Sidney D. Rodden, United States Army, World War II.
No response.
Joseph Sacken.
No response.
William C. Sieber, United States Army, Vietnam.
No response.
Sander Spector.
No response.
Henry Turner.
No response.
James W. Valliston, United States Army, Korea.
No response.
Richard A. Wiggin, United States Navy.
No response.
Ernest Brown, U.S. Navy.
No response.
Bert Landry, U.S. Navy.
No response.
At this time, the Hawthorne Junior ROTC will give a rifle salute. Please stand.
Thank you all. Be seated. We'd like to thank our bugler, Dominic Corazzo, for the tap surrendered. And his father also served in the United States Air Force in the Korean conflict. Now for the closing prayer. A prayer. Dear God, we thank you for the freedom you have given to us and for the price that was paid so that we could live free. Remember today the cost of it all, the great sacrifice for freedom. We thank you for the brave men and women who have fought and continue to fight so courageously for our nation. We ask for your covering and blessing over them and their families. We pray that you would gracious encircle them with peace. We pray for your great favor and goodness to be evident in their lives. Please be with all those who wear the uniform, who serve our communities and nation every single day. We ask that you provide your protection, that you would be their guiding force who leads the way, and their rear guard who keeps them safe from behind. We ask that you draw them to yourself amidst the dangers they face in the dark world, for you are the truth, you are the way, you are the light. Amen. Please be seated.
Okay, that concludes. Okay. Okay, first of all, there will be refreshments hosted by the VFW at 2075. The address in the program is 4563 West 131st Street in Hawthorne. And the acknowledgements, we would like to acknowledge Rafael Villarreal, readjustment counselor of therapy. City of Hawthorne Affairs, Veteran Affairs, Sons of the American Legion, Gil Demise, and Associate Vietnam Veteran of America, Kyle Orman. This was first president. And the Auxiliary Department of California, Madeline Cunningham Colston, Assistant Secretary.
And last, I'd like to thank Joel Juarez from AMVETS, American Vets, who's here today as well. Thank you all for coming.